Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips. Sorry for the late start and had a morning. a happy capital M Monday morning. But we're here now, so it's all good. So how are you all? I hear lots of people in conference calls. Yeah, I'm at the beat my head through the desk too, Nomad Zeke. Not because I'm presenting a meeting though. So I'm definitely there though. D. Clearman poning you all with a 24-month streak. Double sub-anniversary, double sub-anniversary, double sub-anniversary, double sub-anniversary. Happy double sub-anniversary, D. Clearman. Dang, that's a long time. Oh yeah, sparrowhawks that eat the little birds. Yep. Well, you know, it's nature. What you gonna do? They'd eat each other no matter what we did. We just see it when it's right in front of our window on a handy bird feeder, right? Terrible twos start now. Oh, great. Great. Just what I needed. Yeah, not today, Clearman. Not today. Please. I don't want to go absolutely insane. Hello, Durham. How's it going? All right, let's get to this. I don't know. Let's do some smoky things. I'm trying to think about what I want to do with the smoky things. I think I want to do... I don't know. You guys get me in the, like... Anne doesn't know what the heck she wants to do with these smoky things, so we're going to play with stuff. Let's play. Let's see if we can get something fun going on. Because, you know, sometimes it's just that point in the model where you're just like, WTF. But yes. Hey, Joe, how's it going? Oh, yeah, web design. Well, that's cool. I'd learned a little bit of that back in the day when it was much simpler. Jazzy, so good luck. It's fun stuff, I think. I've always thought web design was kind of fun. It's a lot of work. Like, it can be frustrating, right? When you're double checking, like, why your page looks wonky because you screwed up one line of code and one symbol. Like, if you're a programmer, you totally feel this. I don't know if I can keep mine up. All right, let's see here. Where is my ultramarine blue? I need ultramarine. Where are you? There you are. Because remember, the pale blues in her smoke and her hair and her skin are all built with ultramarine highlight. So you're a full stack developer, yeah. Good. That's serious stuff, Cookie. Ah, yeah. Yeah, shrubbery is good. Makes sense, Carrie Michael. If you're asking them to put their little birdie butts out on the line, out on a bird feeder where they can be clearly spotted, it makes sense to give them hidings, right? Yeah, my parents put their bird feeder underneath our big tree, so it was a little bit harder for, like, hawks to see the little birds. They had a lot of cover. Oh, wow. Yeah, job search thing. Fun during COVID. Not. Where is my white? Oh, I needed to dig out more pure white. Well, if I run out of pure white, guys, we're done. Not really. I have another bottle hiding in the closet somewhere. We'll dig it out. I'll just try not to completely, like, go through all my white. So I'm just doing, like, about 4 drops of ultramarine blue, and I'm doing 3 drops of pure white, and we're just gonna mix it up and see if it's close to what my little blue smoky color is. Yeah, we have a lot of computer types on here. Which is awesome. See, now if we have all our tech questions, we can not just go on the chat. Everybody out there just wanted to kill me for that statement. I know. I'm just joking. Really, I am. All right, so that went lighter, but it didn't go much lighter. But you know what? I think I could use this because I do want her to be ethereal, but I also think maybe I need some deeper blues down here. I'm not sure. So I'm going to save this color. I am going to port some of it over to a new well and throw more white in it to get close to the color I actually want. Because it was like ultramarine highlight, but with a lot of white in it. Because I do like how the smoke looks right now. It just needs a little bit more. I might want some of those darker swirls in it coming forward, so I'll keep that initial color. The pink on the skin, The pink on the skin is layering. So layering, Daxton, is essentially painting with almost glaze. It's actually more like a wash consistency paint. Washes are thicker than glazes. So, and this is all layering because if you're doing something like this where you're highlighting one color with a completely different color, you really can't rely on glazes. Like, you can maybe spot glaze here and there to try to get a better transition, but it's kind of on your layering, because if you glaze with the pink, you're going to lose the blue, and if you glaze with the blue, you're going to knock the pink right out. So it's actually very challenging. It's something I wanted to do for this model. But yeah, it's just layering. So layering is just layering, layering up highlights kind of like a little bit at a time. So, you start out with one color, and then you make it a little smaller, a little smaller, a little smaller, a little smaller. And you're thinning your paint, and you're doing a specific brush stroke. So you're layering up the color on level on level on level. So it is the consistency itself varies by the color, because the more white you have in your layering highlight color, the more you need to thin it. So there's actually a range of consistencies that you use in layering depending on what you're working with. So the chat has gone to the birds. It's true. Well, okay. So it is easy, Daxton, but you got to play around with your paint consistency, and you also need a very good brush with a very good tip, and you need very little paint on your brush. Like, these are my key points for beginning painters are exactly the same points that make for good layering. Like, that's really what it comes down to. What brush do I want today, guys? I think I want my Da Vinci. Maybe I want to break out a new Da Vinci. I don't know. This Da Vinci's okay. It's really getting worn down. Oh, we have hummingbirds here too. I love them. Love the hummingbirds. Let me see. Do I have a new Da Vinci? I do, but I'm going to use my old one. It still lives. It's just getting a bit thin and a little crooked. My brush is crooked. What do I do? All right. So let's get a pink out. What do I want? Do I want Runic Glow? I think I do want Runic Glow. And I'm going to make a succession of pastels. I'm going to start with a pink and an orange and a yellow. I think I'll make 3. What I want to do here, what I think I want to do with this smoke, is suggest like little rainbow curls. So I want to start with pink and then go through orange, yellow, and then by the time we'll actually do a little bit of green. And probably into purple back here, or maybe back around to Runic, because this is very close to the highlights on our violet, red, pink. So I want kind of a way to jazz up my smoke here, without just taking it white and blue. So I'm going to try to introduce some colors, like some magical type colors. So yeah, right, Big Apple. Like, that's probably one of the most challenging things to do in mini painting. And once you get that, like, it'll take you a while, but once you get it, then the world is open to you. Because if you can do smooth layering, then textures and other fine work are so simple, because you just keep your paint a little bit thicker. And then it's just mastering, like figuring out like how to do textures, like, like line textures, dot textures, just all that kind of thing. So like, I think that the smoothness is actually hard. Once you've got that, then the world is open to you. Like, all sorts of techniques, like anything you want to do really. Starts to open up to you. So like, there are just some core techniques, and you don't have to know how to layer to paint well. Like David, my boyfriend, he doesn't do a lot of smooth blending. Like, it's not in his shtick. He doesn't really go for it, and he doesn't like. He blends, he tends to spot wet blend, I think, if he needs a smoother blend, but his stuff is a little, like, he doesn't go for smoothness. He likes texture, and his stuff is amazing. So, I mean, you don't have to learn, like, even on skin, you don't have to be perfectly smooth. Like, you could, if you're not going to be smooth, though, then lighting becomes important. So it's like, you have a choice. You can go for cool, like, realistic lighting, and I'm going to need to use extra yellow because yellow is weaker than red here. Or you can go for smooth. And you know, there are probably other ways to do it. Essentially, when you go for lighting, you're just introducing more dramatic contrast. And so then you can get away with sharper delineations, essentially, because it's harsher. Hello, Reaper John. Thank you for your 20-month sub to your job. John is like, this is a vote of confidence in my job. But yeah, you don't have to do smooth layering. I mean, don't let anybody tell you that you have to learn how to blend smooth. It's a useful tool. It's always a useful tool. And that way, when you want to get that smoothness, you will have it in your toolbox. Instead of having to, you know, learn something new off the cuff when you're trying to do a really good model, right? Now I'm going to lighten these because they're actually a little bit dark. They don't look dark, but they are. I want them to be pretty delicate. This is why we're going to go through all of this. All of the white in this bottle. It's going to be all gone today. All gone. But you know what, Trillero? Many painters, including David, believe that you need that. Like, you need to be able to hold your model out at arm's length and see the detail and have it look good. But then, you know, the next stage, if you want to, and not everybody does, the next stage is to also have it look good up here. But the best painters will paint a model that looks great out here on the tabletop and great up here. So you need both. You need both. Like, probably David's biggest criticism of some of my work, especially some of just the general, just like more gaming level or hot or low end like gallery level work, is just that it doesn't necessarily go wowza out at arm's length or on the tabletop. Like, I like a lot of subtle stuff, and sometimes I don't pop my contrast as much as I could, and so then it doesn't read as well on the tabletop. Yeah, that makes sense, Big Apple. I mean, I do too. That's why I do it. I like to be able to pull off the smooth, and I like to be able to do the texture, and I choose the surface. Like, when I do it is dependent on what surface I'm working with. So I'm making kind of a pastel orange by mixing these two. That's a nice pastel orange. I like that. That's mixing runic and lemon yellow and a bit of white. Wait, like pastels. But yeah, I mean, go with what you feel good about. I mean, mini painting is your hobby. We each have our version of the mini painting hobby. You should have your version. And it does not need to be the same as anybody else's. Now, I'm going to test this on the model because I can't tell real well if these are light enough. Like, I'm sure the yellow is pretty light. It's going to read pretty light. But I kind of want to see. And this is also a proof of concept. I might decide I don't like this. You know? Although I do want to jazz up the smoke a little. So we'll see. We'll see. So what I'm going to do, I think, is... And the pink... Starting with the pink does play into this. Just because I've got my pink right here, too. So I think I'm going to do kind of a stippling pattern here. And because I've got a good brush in my hand, you don't stipple by jamming your point down, like straight on. I stipple it by using the side of my point. It still lets me get like dots, but it doesn't break the point of the brush. Then just be gentle with it. Don't cram your brush down on the model. I wanna use stippling for any cloud or smoke effect because it's particulate. So if I'm trying for that effect, there are two options. Airbrush is one, and stippling is the other. So I'm putting these little pink dots right down there. Yeah, exactly. Yep. That's right, Shadow. I agree, Shadow Raven. Like, that's where I am also. Like, I would like my models to look good on the tabletop. Like, I have upped my drama a bit in recent days to get them to look good. But yeah, well, most players are like that, though, Kerniko. So you could totally, I mean, you could totally just paint your gaming models that way and then just get yourself some nice busts or some of these big, nice 75s that companies are coming out with now and go to town on the big stuff. I think that using like top-notch techniques on big stuff is impressive to most people. But yeah, gamers, Gamers just want it painted and looking cool in general. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's, like I said, it's your hobby. Do with it what you will. So I'm getting that pink curl going on in here. And I'm leaving the blue. I'm leaving a little bit of the gray because it is smoke. And I don't want to lose that completely. But I want some sparkles. I want some color introduced into these swirls. And the nice thing about stippling is that if you're doing smoke or something, you don't have to be real precise with it. And that means that, you know, it can go fast when you don't have to be precise. But I'm going to be leaving a lot of these little dots. Like, I'm not trying to blend in my dots. I actually want them to almost look like they're catching light, like motes of light in the smoke. Like little sparkles are catching the light and lighting up as you look at them. Like, I kind of want that kind of magical effect. So I have the opportunity here. It's so seldom we get the chance to paint smoke, but you can see how that's starting to look here. And I can also, let's do some orange. That's true, Kuruniko. Although if they don't really care, it means you can totally skimp on the models you're not, like, super fan of. So I'm not really thinning this a lot, guys, especially because there's so much white in these colors. Like, I just dropped a little bit. I need enough water so that the paint comes off my brush easily. But that's it. Yeah, I want glittery. That's it. I want Sparkle Genie. Yeah, and there's a lot of pleasure to be had in that, right, Trillero? Of just getting a bunch of stuff done and having it look, like, good on the table. Like, there's definitely much to be said for that. So now I'll see. The other reason that I kept these, I didn't go as light with these colors as I could have, is that remember, the smaller something is, the less the color carries, right? The less you can see the color. So if I want these to show up, if I want these pastels to show up as pastels, then I need to make sure that the color is still strong enough to show up. I need it to be lighter, but I need it to be strong. So, not really, Durham. I'm all about precision. I mean, I keep my crappy brushes, like I keep my synthetic splayed flat to use for terrain, but I never trim them. Because I don't feel like I need to, like, it depends on how you wear your brushes, I guess. I mean, acrylic painters and oil painters have done that for ages, though. They have actually trimmed brushes into custom shapes to do custom techniques. So it's actually a tradition in the fine arts. If you're persnickety and want to, like, make yourself a new texture brush, you can just take one and kind of, you know, play around with trimming it and see, as long as it still works the way you need it to work. So a little bit of sparkles. I'm wondering if I just need a little bit. Well, that's all right. I mean, it reads as orange, right? So I mean, they do both have pastels, although a little bit different. But I don't want these pastels to be overwhelming. Like, I don't want you to look at her and just go, oh, Rainbow Genie. I want you to look at her and see her and then notice, like, kind of the cool color shift stuff. Like, that's what I want, ideally. The other thing we could do is to go for a real, like, I could go for more of a color shift effect and put some, like, greens and purples on, like, the undersides of stuff. Although that would be a little weird. That, and it wasn't originally planning. I kind of just wanted a gradient. A magical gradient. It'll kind of look interesting anyway because I'm keeping this blue as my shadow, this really light blue. It's not really a shadow either. If you look at it, the blue is lighter than the gray. So, it is an interesting effect at any rate. But I don't often, like I said, I think I have exactly one other model that has smoke that I could paint, so I'm going to put a little bit more water in this orange because it is just a little bit strong. Weird should work for everybody. I missed it. I missed some stuff. Oh, thematically, yeah. No, that's fine. I mean, she does have some colors in common. Although technically this this pink that we used on her is a different color than the one on Mesra. Because we used the violet red that I'm liking so much lately. Now, when you're thinking about this, look at where the light comes down on down here, right? So this little swirl here comes out, but then there's some shadows. I'm going to leave those shadows in. I may even try to bring in this darker blue for those shadows, but first I'm going to use this orange to get this little nodule swirl. You know, yeah, everybody should like weirdness. I always liked weirdness. I took great pride in my weirdness as a younger person. Alright. And we're probably going to want some orange back here. I just want to make sure that I'm kind of transitioning my colors. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like, it is smoke, so if I throw some yellow up here right next to my pink, I'm not going to be, like, super unhappy. Let's try to put some of this darker blue down and see if it actually works. My concern is that it's going to make the smoke look heavy, which it shouldn't ever look. But if I thin it way down, maybe I can get it to work. Yeah, I just wanted kind of like that, you know, because smoke and mist and the sun through mist tends to make rainbows. So I wanted to kind of suggest that. You don't often get dawn rainbows, and she has dawn colors, but... I like the orange. I like orange in general. I don't use it enough. We probably should paint something orange. One of my D&D characters is orange. Let's see here. Let's try this. So if I point this, if I take this and put it underneath the light, we can see that there's a heavy shadow here. And there's also a shadow that comes down here. And a little bit of one down here. Okay, so that was way, way thick, and that fought against my thinned down dark color, so I'm going to have to, if I want to blend those, I'm going to have to thin down this other one. Morning, Val. So really, I just blocked in a couple of shadow areas. See, they're not blended at all. But now I can take this color and mix it with my slightly lighter blue and kind of do a little bit of layering. Hopefully, a little bit of spot wet blend to try to get these to work. Just blending it right on the model, just to kind of for a proof of concept, to decide if I like it, to decide if it's going to work or if it's going to be too heavy. And I'm going to work it into the blue that's right next to it. So kind of blending it in there. And then taking that pink that I've got right next to it and kind of bringing it down into that to further interrupt that linear look. So that makes it fade in. So that's all right. I don't mind that. It does make the smoke look a little heavier, but it's also an unnatural shadow. Like we're using a blue shadow that's quite vibrant, and so that's not like using a brown or a gray, which could be very heavy. Whenever you are shading, what you are doing, guys, is you're building mass. Remember that. Like, the shadows that you put on imply the mass and the shape of the objects around them. So if you're using a natural shadow, like a gray or a brown, it does tend to imply a heavy feel. Whereas if you use like a bright blue or something like I'm using on this smoke, it implies, you know, more of a supernatural, unusual, or magical effect. It doesn't immediately read heavy. So remember that. It can be difficult if you're doing really dark smoke. It is going to look heavy. And you may want that if you're doing like really black smoke, you know. It would have a lot of particulate matter in it. So I can also use the stipples with this blue. And probably should, because that's kind of the texture that I want to imply with the smoke here. Get one a little bit more. So this comes back to not having to do smooth blending, right? Like you could do blending with stippling if you wanted to. And it won't look smooth, it'll look textured because that's what you're doing. But it's a different way to do things. There's more than one way. There is always more than one way. So that's a little bit, gives you a little bit of those blue shadows under here, right? I think just you, Durham. I'm not getting any drop frames on my end. Try to refresh. Sounds like Twitch being twitchy. Now, if you do want it to look more smooth, you could thin your paint more. And then your speckles would be a lot more diffuse. Reaper John says, refresh. And it'll look more like layering if you thin this more. It will be layering, essentially. The minute layering at its very base is putting a wet color over a dry color. So all of this stippling I'm doing is technically layering. It's just using a textured brush stroke instead of trying for smooth layering, smooth blending. But it's still layering as opposed to wet blending. Sometimes I think our hobby tries to skin a cow 47 different ways when it's really just skinning the cow. So it's like, break everything down to the very, very basics. Is it a wet over dry technique or a wet over into wet technique? You know? Okay. That's a good place to start. So thinning it a little bit more with my brush gives me a more subtle line. But I do think I like this blue, this darker blue. Do you guys like that darker blue with the swirls around it? Like, it is actually a lot darker in person, so we'll see if I still like it. But it helps me carry this darker ultramarine, or at least a suggestion of it, down into here. And I do have some pretty dark hollows down here. So that'll be, those hollows then can get this blue in them. There you go, Shadow Raven. But I bet there are cow skinners out there that try to tell you there's a different way to do it. And they try to explain why, too. I don't know. I think that you get more mileage out of it if you just, like, try to break down techniques into their simplest form right off the bat. Like, when you're trying to understand a new technique, like any type of blending, ask, you know, okay, is this working with wet into wet paint or wet over dry paint? Okay, so it's layering. So how does it differ from, you know, standard layering? Okay, the brush stroke is different, or I use two brushes, or I do this or that, you know, but that lets you kind of like break it down into what it is and maybe relate it to techniques you already are familiar with when you're encountering a new technique. So I'm going to block in, now that we like this darker blue shadow, I'm going to block in some more of them. Moo. Exactly. All about the moo. And then when my blue gets a little dark, I'm going to grab my light blue, kind of minimize it a little bit if I need to fade it in. Don't want it to take over. Just want it to give a little definition. And I'm still going to be using stippling here and there to suggest the texture. Yeah, I always felt that two-brush blending was kind of gimmicky, but some people really like it, so, you know, give it a try. I mean, it's really just a form of wet blending, and some people find that the extra brush makes it easier for them instead of having to go and rinse out their first brush and use it to blend. And I get that. I actually just do it all with one brush, but I'm pretty fast at this point on the rinse. So back when wet blending, when I was first trying it, like that was the only the one way to do it. Like, although I believe it is a traditional art technique to use two. So again, we're stealing stuff from canvas painters, which is going to happen. Uh-oh, a little bit too much dark blue over there. All right, so now I got to ask myself, I got to continually check and find out. I'm going to just block in all my my darker shadows, I think, at this point. Need to kind of hold it up to where I can see the light source, where I can see the shadows fall. Like there's a shadow right here that I need to deal with. There's a dark shadow down here that I need to deal with. Probably this entire area except for this little swirl. It's going to go darker blue. So let's just block that in. And some of this, some of that. I'm probably going to get that whole thing. I'm going to bring my light back in a little bit and wet blend that and wet blend that. So we've got two lighter areas down there and we've got a big darker shadow. Yeah, pretty much. Well, and now the traditional art companies are stealing from us because they're like doing more of the fluid acrylics. The fluid acrylics with the matte, finish, right? Which is totally taken from hobby paints that more and more canvas painters were just starting to use because they liked not having to thin it all, especially if they're into more of an illustrative art style. They aren't there to use the thick. They aren't there for the thick texture of a tube paint. I kind of wonder what percentage like of new artists. Like I think new artists may be more and more just getting into the digital side. I wonder how many, like whether traditional art companies are doing worse, or if there are still enough people just interested in learning to paint with traditional media that they hasn't impacted them much, or if it's really impacting them. Like I kind of wonder. I wonder if somebody's done any sort of like just kind of a study or question. Yeah. Well, now Liquitex has had its fluid acrylics. Yeah, we can, Durham. The only thing to remember about those paints is that, once again, they're made to be used on canvas, which means that their adhesion value, how well they stick to a model, is not going to be a primary concern of those paint companies, because they are expecting you to use it over gesso. Either gessoed board, gessoed canvas, those things have texture for the paint to stick to. So you may find that the adhesion is not what you are used to from miniatures paints. Depending on the type of paint you use. I mean, there are some companies of miniature paint that don't have very good adhesion either, and that you really have to seal, especially if you're thinning them a lot. But if you're used to Master Series, you probably will notice that. There we go. So that's really bluing. Let's see. I want to back out and see how this looks from a distance. Once again, we got to do the arm's length test here. All right, so doing these blue shadows is definitely making our smoke swirls show up better. And it's giving us a little bit of relatability and repeat of color between our really dark blue bodysuit and bracelets and the smoke down here. But I don't think it's too dark. I think it's working. Yeah, check the toxicity on those Shadow Raven. Although maybe they're mica, who knows? Because usually the flakes are going to be the same, but I don't know. I haven't looked at Golden's metallics or figured out, tried to figure out what they're using. Do you like them because they're thicker? Because they cover right away? What do you like about them? Oh, I missed that, Rex. Sorry. I was, Oh, COVID outbreak. Not bad. Not good. I got my first shot yesterday, guys. My arm is still sore. Which house? I think they stuck me with the Pfizer. I think that's what they have it. It's the mass vaccination site in Santa Clara County. It's the stadium right by the Six Flags Park. It was actually a pretty cool venue as far as I had not been over there. I actually grew up as a kid. I worked at Six Flags for 4 years near our house. And actually it's not Six Flags Park. Sorry, it's a Great America Park. But we had our Six Flags Park used to be a Great America Park. They sold it. So it was cool to be near a theme park again. Brought back a lot of memories from my high school working days. It was fun. Fun job. I think the fact that we nerds are assigning houses based on our vaccines is pretty hilarious. You guys, you're so funny. Yeah, we'll see. I go back in 3 weeks for my follow-up. It'll be nice to be vaccinated. Then I will feel a little bit better about maybe taking some days off with David to... Ever since I moved out here, I've wanted to drive down the coast, to just do the drive by the ocean down the long coast road, and stop here and there and investigate all the local little touristy places, but of course they've been closed and everything's been closed and I wouldn't have been a smart idea. So we put it off, but I'm hoping we can do that this summer. I'd really love to. You feel fine. You guys, you're so silly. That's nice, Twisted Oma. Is it just one spell? I think you only need one spell because I think the genie's clothes aren't really clothes. I think she's actually naked and this is all just smoke. Everything is smoke. It's a naked smoke, man. Twitch does not understand that this model is probably naked and these clothes are illusory. Let's see. How fast do I want to transition? I have to think about this now and not transition too fast. I could also mix it up, and even though I've transitioned to orange here, still put some pink here, and carry my pink down. That might help if I kind of alternate. I don't want a sharp delineation line where these colors are coming in. I do want a kind of a rhyme and reason though. So we'll see. I'm going to put pink on this big fat swirl and see if it works. I don't think so. I don't know. We're not really into really touristy stuff. I'm more interested in going down the coast, eating at some good seafood restaurants, playing in the ocean a bit, seeing the natural beauty in any parks along the way. If there are places, what David and I like to do is art fairs and art shows. So, if there are any local art festivals, it would be cool to time it that way so that we could hit some. Because we really love looking at art, canvas art, as well as miniatures art. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. I want to go back to Yosemite. his parents want to come visit. This summer, I want to be able to fly out and see my brother and his family because my niece is graduating high school this year. And so there isn't much time left to kind of see her. She'll be off to like have her real life. If you can call college real life. It's probably like, being divorced from reality in a totally different way. Yeah, it's stretch time. I wanted to get that pink in there to see if I liked it or if I didn't like it. I think I actually don't like it. I think I actually want to go orange through here and redo that one. Doesn't look quite right to me. Yeah, we'll see. That's just one of my things I'd like to do. Get out and just drive, just go. Explore the state a little bit. Like, I went out to Yosemite with David the winter before I moved, and it was wonderful. And I would love to go back. And there are places, like we went down to Monterey. We would like to go up to Napa for a weekend just to hang out, eat good food, and, again, go view some art galleries, maybe do some hiking, maybe do some wineries, fun stuff. Fun stuff that California people get to do because they're right next to it that I haven't gotten to do yet. I don't know. Yeah, what's a real life, right? All right, I'm going to stand up and stretch. Hey, guys, it's stretch time. If you've been sitting like a lump, like I have been, please stand up and stretch. Remind your body that it stretches a couple of different ways, and it isn't just curled into a C hunched over looking at our phones all day. Yes, real life is what happens when you're making other plans. Yep. Yeah, my arm is really sore, but I have a very aggressive immune system, so. You tuned in at the right time, Crows. Yep. Stretch and water time. Yeah, exactly. We have a lot of awesome parks out here that I'd like to go to. And I want to get back to the galleries. I mean, I really enjoyed some of the San Francisco art galleries, and now that they're gonna hopefully be reopening, and they probably are already open, and we just haven't looked into them just because we wanted to be vaccinated first. But I know the Asian Art Museum downtown had a new floor they were building out, so that's exciting because I love Asian art. So all that kind of thing. Yeah, well, then it's just planning, right, Shadow Raven? Like, when I got diagnosed with Crohn's and when I decided to do keto, traveling became a gigantic pain in the ass. It became like I had to make sure that I had, food with me just in case I couldn't find, like, adequate food because I was on this, gluten-free, low-inflammation diet. And it was like, I used to say it was like planning to move an army when I wanted to take a vacation. Just because I had to make sure I had all my meds and all my stuff, and so it was definitely made traveling more difficult, but essentially it just meant more planning. Like, it meant I traveled a little less, but if I planned for it, I felt like I could still do it. Like, now I wouldn't be able to do the mega road trips I used to do, that's for sure. But I could break it down and make it work a little bit better. Alright, stretches are good. Alrighty, I actually need to go and get some water. I will be right back, y'all. I ran out. I didn't have my full fill this morning. So give me just a minute. I'll be right back. I'm back. Alrighty, let's continue with our... Man, that looks so blue when I walk back. You guys don't see it, but in person this is actually much darker blue. I think it's washing out a little bit against the gray. Out of water, out of pure white, out of everything. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Grand Canyon for sure. I want to get back to the Grand Canyon. Yay, hydrating with water. I used to like fudge stripes when I was a kid. I don't anymore. Like, the chocolate's not good enough for me. I've got this thing in my brain now where it's like, is this worth the calories? And happily, I'm such a chocolate snob that many things are just not worth the calories. It helps with the weight loss. But yeah, I try not to keep, like, there are definitely things that are my kryptonite, like the almond butter cups, like dark chocolate almond butter cups. If I buy those, I'm going to eat them. So I just have to not buy them if I'm trying to not eat them. I tend to bake my own cookies too, so that I can control so I can use sweeteners instead of sugar and stuff like that. But you know. Did I miss a Pendrake? Oh yeah. White sands. It's just a bunch of white sand. You're funny. Helicopter sounds fun. The national park says based off bad Yelp reviews. Oh my god. That could be funny. I don't think all chocolate is worth the calories, though, Durham. There's definitely chocolate that I've had where I'm like, wow, why did I even eat that? That's not nearly as good as, you know, X chocolate or Y chocolate. I guess every chocolate is not the same to me anymore. But there are some... Which company is it? It's the Chocolove. Chocolove's dark chocolate almond butter cups. They're smaller, but oh my gosh, the chocolate is so good. But yeah, I went a little bit off the diet this weekend. But I'm back on now. It's just, you know, that's kind of how I do weight loss. Is like, you know, oh, well, we're just going to take a little break here. All right, we're back on. I think that every once in a while even when you're doing a lifestyle change, you know, it helps to kind of have a break if you're feeling constrained. And then figuring out how to feel better about it. I don't like that. I feel like I need a little bit more something. Let's get closer. There. Yeah, Hershey is never worth the calories. I am with you, Shadow Raven. Yeah, see, I find that has helped my diets. Changing up my diet is when I just kind of decided that some things... Like, it's kind of like now, because I've gotten to be a better cook and a decent baker, like now I really question whether it's worth buying something at the store because I could make it better, right? Like, there are definitely restaurants we would never go to again because it's just like I could go home and whip together something that's actually better than this. Like Chili's. There's no reason for me to go to Chili's. I can make better salads, better burgers, better steaks, better chicken, like definitely better fish. Like, yeah, I'd have to make it, but it doesn't take that long for a lot of that stuff. So, like, there are just some restaurants it's just not worth it. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Yes. And it's so expensive, Big Apple. Like, I bought one of her banana coconut bars when I was at Whole Paycheck the other week, and it reminded me how good that chocolate is. Oh my gosh. Like, it will spoil you, but oh, it's so expensive. I can only buy it like once every month. Oh yeah, the Russell Stover sugar-free is pretty good, Twisted Oma. Yeah. The turtles and the peppermint patties, those are really good. Like, for if you have to have sugar-free, it's a very good sugar-free brand, I think. Russell did a good job on those. I used to, every once in a while, when I was on keto, I would buy those. Because the alcohol sugars don't act the same way in your system. Yeah. Yeah, I do still love boxes of chocolate, you know, like all the different creams. I love chocolate covered creams. So like the strawberry cream, orange cream, vanilla cream. I love all those. I actually managed to dodge a bullet since I missed Easter. Like I didn't get my cream egg. The one craptastic chocolate that I still will eat is Cadbury cream eggs. Because, and I don't normally like milk chocolate, but those things are sugar bombs, and I've loved them since I was a small child, and the nostalgia value still drives me to eat them every once in a while. I think I'm going to just layer some orange over this pink to bring it more of a coral. I think that'll work. To make it a transition swirl. Transition swirl! Well, you know, some people love deserts and some people don't, Pendrake. If you want more exciting or scenic desert, go to Arizona or New Mexico. Those are just beautiful, beautiful states. And the desert is more varied. And New Mexico especially has the high desert, which I absolutely love. It smells so good there. Especially in springtime. All right. Now I'm going to actually add a little bit of definition to this little swirl here, I think. I don't know. In person, it shows up better than it does on... I have a problem because it's like, in person, it shows up better than it does on camera. I kind of want to grab a lighter backdrop. Hold on. Let me see if I can find a lighter paper and put her under it. Because I remember us doing this before with Genie. Yeah, there we go. All right. I'm going to actually sub in this paper for Genie. Because it actually shows you a bit, I think it shows you a little bit better what her actual colors look like. Let me shove this in. See, it's darkened her down. But now you can actually see how dark some of that is looking. And this is not quite right. Like it's darkened, it's a little bit, I need something between these. Grr. Grr. Because I don't like the way it darkens everything down. I need some gray in between those grays, and sadly, finding a paper of that color is not easy. Yeah, the scream egg. Yep. Yep. Yeah, Utah, I believe, also. Yeah, there's a lot of national parks out west that I really would like to go see. I could do like a traditional black framed white and do, you know, probably cut it that way, Rex. But for most of my models, for the vast majority of my models, this paper is perfect. And this is close. It's just, it's not quite showing you guys how dark the blue can get. But, That's good, original. I do have 2 eggs for breakfast. Actually, 1.5 hard-boiled eggs with my oatmeal, my steel-cut oats. But yes, that is funny. Still on the Noom thing, and the Noom thing is working well. It's almost like every other diet I've been on, where as long as I track my food, I do well. If I have days where I don't track my food or I go above my food budget, I don't do well. David had bought me a huge block of chocolate to make chocolate-covered orange slices and chocolate-covered strawberries, so we actually did that on Saturday night, and I'm regretting it already. I'm like, let's eat these and get them out of the house. I think maybe Twisted Oma. Oh, steel cut is just the closest to like the oat in the original form, Valandar. Like instant or old fashioned or other oats have been processed pretty heavily, so they don't have as much fiber. I mean, I still used to do just regular like home style type oats and, you know, just throw fiber, my psyllium fiber in it. But the steel cut oats have a lot more mouth texture. Like it's not just mush. It just has a bit of a texture. Rolled oats are processed, yeah. I mean, if you look at them, you can see it. Steel cut oats are actually like the bit of grain that's just been sliced through so that you can actually cook it. And you also have to treat steel cut before you eat them. Like back in the old times, they used to soak the oats, and you had to really make them edible. Same thing. I have to I do a big batch at once, and I just cook it and refrigerate it in batches. But you have to put it in water with salt and some, usually lemon or lime, to make it, this is what processing does for us. So we don't have to do that with rolled oats or old fashioned or instant or whatever. We can just add water, right? They pre-processed it to make it easier. So if you're looking for a carb that's slower absorbing though, you want that whole grainness. Yeah. And I want slower absorption, usually. The more processed a grain is, the faster it absorbs into your bloodstream. And thus technically, I guess the higher impact it's supposed to have on your blood sugar. This is all, nutrition craziness. I do like how the Noom program kind of makes you, they're actually teaching us critical thinking. It's like, when you read a food study, here is what you should look for. Who did it? Do they have a self-interest? How big was the study? It's kind of cool. It's like, I've never had a diet program like this before. It's like, teaching us critical thinking? What? Alrighty. I think I want a more highlight there. Yeah, it essentially, but it's not, you process it to make it more edible, but they don't take out a lot of the fiber, Pendrake. Otherwise, I believe if you look at them, they're very different. They're like little nubbins, like nuts almost. Whereas, like a regular, when you get an oat in a rolled oat or whatever, it's a flat kind of, crumbly thing, right? These are not crumbly things. They are like hard little pellets, like corn nuts, except tiny. I like them. I like the texture, but as with all things, your mileage may vary. Just be aware that you do need to seriously cook them and seriously soak them beforehand. Yeah, I believe in that. Durham, critical thinking should be. And I've been bad about critical thinking with studies before, but I'm getting better. Usually I at least can look for the self-interest stuff now and see when a study has been sponsored by somebody who has an interest in a certain outcome. Alrighty. So that orange is going to look kind of yellow until we throw our yellow down on here. I want to just pop more of this pink up here. Put a little bit of extra pink in here. I'm liking that so far. It looks interesting. I like things that look interesting. Yeah, you do have to force yourself. Yep, you do have to force yourself, Rex. You're right. It's work. Humans don't like work. We would like to choose our work and make most of the work to be work we like. We don't want to have to bother with it all the time. Just bringing in a little bit more stippling here, kind of tuning the areas that I've done that I like a lot now. So I'm working on this area to make it even look cooler. I think I want some pink here too, but there's also a shadow area there right under the scarf. So I need to add a little bit of my darker blue. Probably want to add a shadow underneath the scarf all up here actually. Yeah. Huh, interesting. Yeah, I used to love that stuff. Terjon. Nowadays I use the the good stuff, the steel cut, but then I add in fruit. Fresh or frozen fruit to spice it up. I like adding frozen bananas and cinnamon. Because I hate keeping bananas around because they go bad so fast, but the frozen ones are not bad if you're going to like cook them along with the oatmeal, and then cinnamon is just really good with that. There we go. Added in a bit of a darker shadow. See the darker blue underneath the scarf, so that's nice. It's just enough. Don't make our fun into work. Yeah. Yeah, I think, well, the quick oats make sense dry. I mean, a lot of people use that for granola, right? So, but yeah, you couldn't do that with whole rolled. You'd break your teeth on it for the steel cut, I mean. That's why it has to be steel cut. Your teeth are not steel. Do not try to chew steel cut oats. You will be very sad. Raw steel cut, I mean. So adding in that shadow. I haven't added peanut butter. I don't want to... I've kind of gone off peanuts. I like, I prefer other nuts. I like almonds a lot. And pecans. And we use pumpkin seeds in place of croutons. I've managed to get David to do that. The toasted, roasted pumpkin seeds are really good sub for a crunchy thing in salads. Higher calorie, but gluten-free. And they're not that high calorie if you're only using a tablespoon. But I like nuts on salads a lot. Yeah. Interesting, Pendrake. I haven't tried to freeze them myself. When I get the ones out of the bag that I have, that it's pre-frozen, they're a little more brownish, but they're not like seriously brown. They look pretty banana-y. So I wonder if it's when they freeze them or what, or how they freeze them. Not sure. Never really tried to freeze them myself. I like my frozen mango a lot in oatmeal too. Yeah, I mean, do what you want with your breakfast choices for sure. They probably flash freeze. Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, texture is hard to get by. Interesting. Yeah, banana bread. Oh. Asked if the blue makes the pink purpley or if his monitor is imagining things. The pink is a little purpley just flat out. Like, because it is runic glow, so it has a little magenta in it. But it doesn't have, like, that's pretty much what it's built on. So it's probably something your monitor is seeing too. But the other thing is that this pink is going to look more purpley because I've got orange right next to it. Remember how colors change depending on what's next to them. So when you've got a pink and you've got an orange, and then when I put the yellow on here, it's probably going to make this look even purplier. Whereas if I had gone to a lavender and then a pink, then this would look more warm. So it's all about, it's what our eyes do. Our eyes adjust other colors around next to what we see. Yeah, there are a lot of good croutons out there. I haven't eaten them for years. Years. Not since I went gluten-free, so 2013 was the last time I had a crouton. Yeah, I can't do tomatoes. Health issue. Tomatoes are not... I've actually been playing with substitutions because a lot of good Indian curries want you to use tomatoes, and so... I've been thinking a lot about how I can make pseudo tomatoes, like non-tomato tomato. A lot of people say use peaches, and in salsas that works really well. And sometimes it works in cooked food, but I think I could get better. Like I was just thinking the other day that roasted red bell peppers, get kind of that flavor, and maybe I could use that. Like a combination of those and peaches to make something that tastes very close. Plus some souring agents like tamarind and salt. I was thinking that might work. Yeah. Yeah, it should be red bell pepper, lava bean, yeah. Yeah, when roasted, exactly. I roast them in my cast iron and pull the skins off because I like to deskin and deseed them before I eat them. Because I don't like the papery skin sometimes with the texture, so do the same thing with jalapenos to get the awesome flavor, but not the texture of the skin. And poblanos for sure. So I do a lot of pepper roasting in my cast iron. Yeah, when you have a medical issue with tomatoes like I do, Arcane Void, that's one of the things they recommend if you want salsa. Sub peaches for tomatoes because the flavor isn't quite there, but the texture is. And if you add salt to the peaches, it gets closer to tomato flavor. And then if you're doing salsa, you're already using a souring agent. You're usually using lime, right? So you can then further kind of disguise it. It does have a different flavor, but it's very close to the right experience. You throw cilantro in there, and then the cilantro flavor goes on, if you can do cilantro, which I know some people really hate. But I can, so... Yeah, if you want to do, if you're doing beef stews or things like that really usually have tomato paste in them as to enrich the flavor, Arcane Void, try tamarind paste. Like, make sure to look it up because usually it's sold as concentrates, so you want to thin it down a little bit. But it's a souring agent used in Indian cooking, and it really gives that same depth to, like, beef stews that tomato paste usually does. So it's an acidity, sourness note in food. And it's a great substitute if you are sensitive to tomatoes, allergic to tomatoes, or have another health issue with tomatoes. I've spent a lot of time trying to get around some of that because I love stews, but you need something in that kind of family for them, really. So I started working with tamarind a while ago, and I've been pretty happy with it. Yeah, no problem. Yep, no politics. Sorry, claps. This is a painting thread. We talk about cooking too, but cooking is not political. Unless you're talking, I guess if I'm talking about cooking from various countries. But even then. Yeah, I do a lot of Indian recipes that don't require tomatoes, but there are some that, like there's a fish curry that is tomato based that I want to work with a little bit more. And see if I can get a little closer to like a true flavor. I think roasted red peppers are going to be my next go-to. I'll have to find some time to food experiment. It's hard to find time to experiment sometimes. Well, this is looking pretty good, guys. I like this so far. I think I'm going to bring in a little of the yellow down here to see if I'm going to like that. It's a good place to do it because all this stuff is sticking out really far and the yellow is going to be a little bit lighter than everything else. I am going to add a little more water to it, though. I want to kind of build it up. If you're not sure about the color of something that you're going to layer over, thin it and just build it up in slight layers so that you can kind of assess it as you go. Food and birds are not inherently political, yeah. Oh, are you, Valendar, are you a hot pepper person? Yeah, I can't do it. I take the seeds out. I want the flavor, but not the heat in general. I know in a lot of Indian cooking, that's kind of like, what? But I have formed a love for Kashmiri chili powder, the red stuff, because it's a milder chili powder. It gives a really good flavor. I do like that. So I do tend to use that in my Indian recipes. They like it because of the color it gives. All right, so we've got... Let's get closer. So the yellow is there. You can see how it definitely is different, a little bit different, warmer from there. Ow! Thanks, Reaper Miniatures, for taking care of that troll. Fast off the mark. Every once in a while, some jerky kid will come in. I'm just going to call them jerky kids, and if they're jerky 40-year-olds, then they can just get mad at me. Alright, I'm going to put the blue in here. That's kind of to break this up. I wonder if I can get, if I layer these over each other, I'm going to get a little bit of a greenish note. I don't mind that. Because, you know, layering yellow over blue is going to give you a little bit of green. And since we're going to bring in a bit of green eventually back here, that's not a bad thing. Yeah. Quindy did all the work, you just cleaned up. Good deal. Yeah, it's I mean it's her mist, right? It's the mist that she's turning into, or the clouds that she's turning into. But yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. It's kind of cool. It's definitely different, right? I'm having fun with it. I like it. So yeah, I was never a big jalapeno pepper fan either, but then I tried, there's this one recipe I do, Durham, that's, bay scallops and pancetta with roasted diced jalapenos in it. Oh my gosh. Like, that changed my mind. Like, the jalapeno flavor is there, but it's not overwhelming because you've got the strong flavors of the pancetta, and also some, garlic and such in there. It's really tasty. So then I gave, roasted jalapenos a little bit of a second chance. Sometimes they call for I just got some actual Indian green chilies. So I was subbing in jalapenos before because serranos are a little bit too hot for me. Even though the serrano is more like what we'll see. I'll just use very little Indian chili, fresh Indian green chilies. Very little. I went to the Indian grocery store the other day for the first time. That was culture shock. And I have never seen so much ghee in my life. Never have I seen so much rendered butter, clarified butter. A wall of it in tubs and jars. It was like all the ghee. But it was a super inexpensive grocery store. And the vegetables were great. Like the produce was generally really high quality. Which makes sense because a lot of Indians are vegetarians, I guess. I can't get past the heat. I'm a real wimp. I used to be more acclimated to it, but not anymore. Because there are so many Asian families that relocate to Silicon Valley area, Chibi. So there's actually like 6 Indian grocery stores within probably 5 miles of me. This was the one that David has a coworker who came over from India, and this was the one he recommended. It's a pretty big place, and I didn't even get through all of it. I thought it was going to be dangerous, so I left because there was so many. If I would have gotten to the spice aisle, my bill would have doubled or tripled. So, but I did get what I wanted, which was fresh curry leaves, because I have an Indian cookbook, and they always say if you can get fresh curry leaves, use them, but if you can't get fresh, just drop this out of the recipe because the dried aren't as good. And so I've been just like dropping it out of the recipe, but I've been really wanting to see what the recipes are like with the fresh curry leaves because it's supposed to give an interesting flavor. So I finally found some. Yeah. Yeah, like I was super happy. I bet you that they grow them like locally because they were just baggied in little Ziplocs. So somebody probably has some nice big tall curry plants, and they're just harvesting, little packets of leaves to sell. It's like each packet is about right for like one big batch of curry. Yeah. Yeah, I love poblanos. Like, I like chili rellenos a lot. I probably should learn how to make them now that I know how to peel a poblano nicely. Roast and peel one. All right, so, okay, the yellow's working, but I don't think I'm going to use a lot of it. I think I'm going to transition pretty quick to green back here and then to purple. So, I think I'm going to start, I probably need to finish out some of my orange up here. I think. The yellow works better in person than it does on camera. Actually, Cornico, our balcony is kind of not the best because I think it's got slight northern exposure. So like last year, our basil and mint did not do well out there. There wasn't enough sun. But I'm ahead of you. I ordered 2 baby curry plants and a grow light. So they're going to live right here. I cleared off my area by this window, and I've got a plug right down there, and I can clamp my new grow light onto the thing. It's an LED grow light. I'm very excited to see how it does. It's supposed to be very good. And then I'm going to have my baby curry plants, and I can put my mint in here too. So we'll see how long the baby curry plants take to grow to a point where I can actually harvest a few leaves here and there. But I really like growing herbs and stuff. So for me, it's like no brainer. Just do it. But in order to find them, I had to actually order the curry plants off of Etsy. Etsy is like more and more like kind of my go-to for some weird things like this. Or it's like, is this guy with his old retired, like his mom, and she has like big curry plants in her backyard, but she doesn't otherwise have a good source of income. So he's like, I am selling these. He sends a little personal note when you buy his little curry plants, and we'll see how they look when they get here. I'm a little bit nervous always about shipping plants in the mail, but they always end up doing better than I expect. Like, they're in the dark for several days when they're shipping. So you'd be like, poor little plants, are you going to be okay? But they always seem to turn out okay. Yeah, I got all your succulents and cacti from Etsy, yeah. Yeah, I love mints too, Durham. We have a spearmint in the other room, and so far it's doing okay, but it really needs a ton of sun, and we don't have any place really in our apartment. So one thing is we don't have a window facing with a lot of light. So plants that don't need quite as much light, like my orchids, are very happy. But our herbs, I think, needed a boost. So that's why I bought the grow light. I was like, I'm going to try this and see if it works. There we go. Yeah, probably because fluorescent doesn't have the right spectrum, Chibi. They're getting more and more sophisticated with LED grow lights, like as far as the spectrum and the intensity. Yeah, the personal touch buying from Etsy. Yeah, I'll agree with you there, Arcane Void. I've bought some 3D printed miniatures, and now I have bought plants, and my experience overall with the sellers has been really good. Nice. Yeah, nice. Very nice, Twisted Oma. Um, if David and I ever get a house, then it's like, it's on, because then I'll have hopefully a backyard of some sort to, then the plants can get the sun that they need. I do miss having a house for that. I do like the backyard and the having the good light for the plants. I haven't yet. I have to do something nice for myself at some point. Like, if I do something really awesome and make a goal, I do have a bonsai tree on my list. That's one thing I haven't repicked up yet out here. And I always said that when I moved out here, I would get a Japanese maple because I couldn't keep them alive in Texas. Like, the local bonsai store guy thought I was nuts to even try, and he was right. I managed to get him to go for a while. Some of my Japanese maples went for a couple of years, but eventually the crazy weather would get them, no matter how much I tried to protect the poor things. But out here, the climate is perfect for them, and I see them on my walks all the time. So, but they're expensive to get a nice one, so I'm gonna have to wait and budget. Oh, nice, Chibi. Oh, yeah. And engagement ring from Etsy, yeah. Mini greenhouse with tomato and chili plants. Nice. Yeah, I tried a mini greenhouse in Texas, but the sun is so intense. It baked everything. It was like I had to rescue everything and just put it out. Like, it was in the winter too, but it got way too hot. I do love having the plants though. Like, I really am happy with my orchids and they seem to be happy with me, so this makes me happy. 2 of my orchids are growing new leaves now. And some are sending out new root shoots. So that's really good. And since I come from it, I was originally an Anne with a black thumb, guys. Black thumb, total. So the amount of success that I'm having with plants now is like kind of nuts. Like, I'm like, okay, when's the piano going to drop? Oh, nice. Ah, 1 citrus tree of some kind once a year. Yeah, I bet. Oh, I love red grapefruit. I bought one the other week and I was like, oh, this is heaven. I forgot how much I love these. So I'm going just a little long today, guys, because we started late. Sorry about that again. But I'm going to get this little highlight on her, what is her calf, technically. Her smoky little calf down here. Yeah, slightly less sun. This is true, right? It probably works in Scotland really well. So I'm bringing this highlight back up into here. Doing a stippling because it's such a dark blue. So it's like layering a complementary color over the top of a blue. And it's just going to build up my orange a little bit toward the middle and let it kind of fade toward the interior part here. And then I got to look at this from a top-down perspective, though, because I probably need to actually put more orange here. Plants come to our house to die. Yep, yep. Yeah, I know. And Hawaii is my other option. I told David, like, if he disappears or explodes or something, I'm moving to Hawaii. I don't know I don't care what I have to do. But yeah, it is nice for plants. It's nice to be in a climate where it's not as hostile to the living things. But I definitely had a black thumb for a very long time. I just didn't have the attention to put toward the plants. Like, they would be the last thing on my list. And so inevitably they would, like, suffer enough that they just wouldn't come back at some point. Yes. Yeah, and I would have said the same thing, but lately, I don't know, I've just shifted, like, I just put them in places where I can see them every morning when I get up, and so I automatically miss them. And I mean, let's face it, orchids don't take a lot of care. Like, I mist them every morning, and I fertilize them and water them once a week, and they're fine. So my orchids have encouraged me by not being too high maintenance. And I love their flowers. All right. Yellow, yellow. I think I'm going to start working green in. I'm thinking I do like this so far though, guys. It's very it's very interesting colors. You find you're really good at growing weeds. Yeah, yeah. Oh, poor bumblebee. Oh no, yeah. Thanks, Racing Gurky. Yeah, we're working on it. There's still some more shading I need to do. I probably should shade this down area because I did that one. You can see the nice depth of blue down there. I like that. I like this a lot. I like this deep blue and with the highlight right above it with these different colors. It reminds me of clouds, which is what I wanted. So. Oh God, Durham. That's true. Yeah, I definitely have had my moments with plants over the years. But I'm trying to turn over a new leaf, hee hee. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, I do think grow lights are a good thing because I used to have before it burned out right before I moved, but I had one of the hydroponic gardens, the Aero gardens, and I loved that thing. Like if you want an indoor herb garden and you use a lot of herbs, Aero garden is a great option, and you can mine lasted for years before the little motor burnt out. Then I just decided there was no place I could put it here in California, so I just trashed it. If I did get a repair part or whatever. And here, like, in Texas, when I tried to have an outdoor herb garden, like, the wildlife ate everything. Like, insects, destroyed. Insects or bunnies, or cats, or whatever, destroyed everything. So, whatever wildlife decided to come by our yard in the night. So I gave up. So I had my indoor Aero garden instead. But here, it's crazy how you can grow things outdoors and use just natural pest deterrents, and it actually works. I guess the Texas wildlife is just more hardcore. Oh. Well, at least you gave it some nice sugar water. I'm sure it had a nice treat. I like bumblebees as long as they don't sting me. And I try not to give them cause. Just pardon me, bumblebee. Just let me get away from you, please. Alright, so we're going to block in all of this with a very dark blue. And then we get some light stuff in here after I've got that. So a nice dark shadow down there. But then the areas that do stick out for details we want to lighten. Mom hates bunnies now. We had baby bunnies in my old house down in Texas. We had some really dumb bunny mom put her bunny nest under one of our planters, right near our house. And yeah, that's with neighborhood cats and stuff. It was inevitable that the bunnies would be discovered, and one of them was destroyed. Looked like a hawk actually had gotten one of them. We found the corpse. It got half of one anyway. That was grisly. But we got to watch baby bunnies grow up for a couple weeks. It was cute. But yeah, it's if I had started planting anything, the bunnies would be destroying it. Yeah, there is a lamp right down there. Oh, the hard way. That's not good, Valendar. Yeah, I tend to fumble finger them as well. Today I haven't been as bad as I usually am. Alright, it's about 1:15, so what we have done today is we have talked about building masks and how when you put shadows in on a item, you are necessarily defining the mass, the weight of it, and if you use a more natural color, like a gray or a brown, to shade an item, it ends up looking like it has a lot more heaviness to it than if you use an unnatural shadow like this more vibrant blue. And we just talked about how colors change a little bit when you put other colors next to them, something we talk about quite a bit. And just kind of the experimentalism of what we're doing here with bringing out different rainbow colors and the swirls on the smoke. And we'll do some green and some purple probably, and we may end up, because the back hasn't been touched at all, so we're probably going to have to come up and really start hitting the back of the model soon, because the front is almost just set. So yeah, we've got some more gold to do on her as well, but I want to take a break from it and do something else and kind of figure out what I want to do with these clouds. Yeah, squirrels. Sweet. All right, guys. Well, so Reaper, who do we have to rate here? Let's back out and look at our mini. Yay, and our rainbow color palette that we were using today. Yay. Oh, much better. Now I have a grocery trip today. Let's see if I can pick up anything exciting. Although we've got so much food to use right now. All right, Electric Eve. Sounds fun. All right, guys. Well, I'll see you tomorrow. We'll be working on Chibi Monique. Maybe we'll do some red. All right, have a fun day, and thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.